The massive viewing screen in the Galactic Council chambers flickered to life, showing the vast emptiness of space. Ambassador Vel adjusted his blue-scaled hands on the control panel, his large eyes focused on the incoming data streams. Around the circular chamber, representatives from 12 different worlds waited in tense silence. The human response ship should arrive within the hour, announced Tech Officer Brix, his forearms working across multiple consoles. Long-range sensors are picking up their vessel now. Vel nodded slowly. 3 months ago, the Council had sent their standard first contact package to Earth, a peaceful invitation to join the galactic community, complete with translation matrices, cultural exchange protocols, and detailed instructions for diplomatic procedures. Every new species received the same welcome package. Most responded with small science vessels or diplomatic shuttles filled with their best ambassadors and scholars. "What class of ship are they sending?" asked Council Leader Nara, her tentacles swaying with curiosity. Brix's yellow eyes widened as he studied his readings. "That cannot be correct," he muttered, running the scan again. "The vessel measures 2 kilometers in length. Mass readings suggest heavy armor plating. I am detecting multiple weapon signatures." An uncomfortable silence fell over the chamber. Vel's throat sacs inflated with worry. "Perhaps their diplomatic vessels are simply larger than most?" "Sir," Brix continued, his voice growing more concerned, "I am reading 47 distinct weapon systems. Particle cannons, missile arrays, and several energy signatures I cannot identify. This is not a diplomatic vessel. This is a warship." The chamber erupted in nervous chatter. Representatives began speaking rapidly in their native languages, their various forms of communication creating a chaotic symphony of clicks, whistles, and harmonic tones. "Silence," Nara commanded, her voice carrying the authority of centuries. "Show us the vessel." The main screen shifted to display the approaching human ship. Even the most experienced council members gasped. The vessel was a study in aggressive engineering. Angular surfaces designed to deflect energy weapons, massive thruster arrays that spoke of incredible speed, and weapon ports that seemed to cover every surface. The ship looked like it had been built for one purpose: war. "By the ancient codes," whispered Ambassador Keth, his insectoid features twitching with fear. "They sent a dreadnought." Vel tried to maintain diplomatic composure, but his hands trembled slightly. "Perhaps there has been a misunderstanding. Surely they would not send a warship in response to a peaceful invitation." "Incoming transmission," Brix announced, his voice barely steady. "Put it through," Nara ordered. The screen changed to show the bridge of the human vessel. The sight that greeted the council was not what they expected from diplomats. A human male sat in the captain's chair, his face bearing multiple scars, his dark eyes cold and calculating. His uniform was military in design, with insignia that suggested high rank and combat experience. "This is Captain Mike Torres of the United Earth Ship Retribution," the human said, his voice carrying an edge that made several council members step backward. "We received your invitation." Vel managed to find his voice. "Captain Torres, I am Ambassador Vel of the Galactic Council. We were expecting diplomatic representatives." Torres smiled, and it was not a comforting expression. "You got them." "Sir," Vel continued carefully, "your vessel appears to be a military ship. We sent instructions for peaceful first contact protocols." "We read them," Torres replied. "The Retribution is our diplomatic vessel." Behind Torres, other humans moved about the bridge with practiced efficiency. Even in this brief glimpse, the council members could see that these were not scholars or ambassadors. These were warriors. Their movements spoke of combat training. Their expressions held the hardness of those who had seen battle. "Captain," Nara interjected, "surely you understand that arriving in a warship sends a particular message. We extend peaceful greetings to all new species." Torres leaned forward in his chair. "And we appreciate that. But you should understand something about humans. We don't separate our military from our diplomacy. Every human is trained for conflict, from childhood. Every human understands that peace exists only because someone is willing to fight for it." The council members exchanged worried glances. This was unlike any first contact they had experienced. Our ship carries 47 different weapon systems, Torres continued conversationally, as if discussing the weather. Each one represents a different way we solve problems. We brought them because we believe in being prepared. Prepared for what? Vel asked, though he was not sure he wanted to know the answer. For whatever comes next, Torres said simply. Your message said you wanted to establish relations with Earth. Well, this is Earth. We don't send diplomats who hide behind words when action is needed. We send diplomats who can act. A new voice came from off-screen on the human bridge. Captain, we have 17 different alien vessel signatures in the area. All appear to be watching us. Acknowledged, Torres replied without taking his eyes off the screen. Council members, I assume those are your ships? Yes, Nara said quickly. Standard security protocols for first contact situations. Torres nodded. Smart. If I were you, I would want to know what I was dealing with too. So let me be clear. The Retribution is here for peaceful negotiations. But we define peace differently than most species, apparently. How do you define it? Valley asked, fascinated despite his fear. Peace is what happens when everyone agrees that fighting would be a bad idea, Torres said. Sometimes that means everyone is friends. Sometimes it means everyone is afraid. Either way works for us. The bridge behind Torres showed increasing activity. Humans moved between stations, checking systems and running diagnostics. Even their routine operations looked like preparations for battle. We will dock with your station in 30 minutes, Torres announced. My diplomatic team will consist of myself, my tactical officer, my chief engineer, and my medical officer. They represent Earth's approach to problem solving. Captain, Vel tried once more. Traditional first contact involves cultural exchanges, scientific discussions, and peaceful negotiations. Torres smiled again, and this time there was something almost predatory in it. Who says we are not prepared for all of that? The difference is, when our cultural exchange includes combat demonstrations, when our scientific discussions cover weapons technology, and when our negotiations are backed by the ability to enforce agreements, well, that tends to make things more efficient. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. What have we invited into our galaxy? Whispered Ambassador Keth. Vel stared at the screen, which now showed the massive human warship growing larger as it approached their station. For 300 years, the Galactic Council had welcomed new species with the same peaceful protocols. Never had anyone responded like this. I believe, Vel said slowly, we are about to find out what happens when diplomacy and warfare are the same thing. Outside the station's windows, the UES Retribution continued its approach, its weapon systems powered down but ready, its crew prepared for whatever form this first contact would take. The age of gentle diplomacy in the galaxy was about to end. The docking bay of Council Station Alpha had never hosted a ship like the UES Retribution. As the massive human vessel connected to the station, the metal walls groaned under the stress of supporting something so heavily armored. Ambassador Vel stood with the other council members, watching the airlock with a mixture of curiosity and dread. Remember, whispered Council Leader Nara, standard diplomatic protocols, peaceful greetings, cultural exchange, and gentle negotiations. The airlock hissed open, and Captain Torres stepped through, followed by 3 other humans. Vel immediately noticed that none of them looked like typical diplomats. Torres wore a military uniform with combat ribbons across his chest. Behind him came a woman with grease-stained hands and sharp eyes, a man whose movements screamed military training, and another woman carrying what appeared to be a medical kit designed for battlefield conditions. Welcome to Council Station Alpha, Vel said, extending his scaled hand in the traditional greeting. I am Ambassador Vel, and these are my fellow council members. Torres shook the offered hand with a grip that was firm but not threatening. Captain Mike Torres. This is Chief Engineer Lisa Park, Commander Jack Riley, and Dr. Anna Webb. They represent Earth's diplomatic corps. Vel tried not to show his confusion. The woman called Lisa Park looked like she could tear apart a starship engine with her bare hands. Commander Riley stood like a soldier at attention, his eyes constantly scanning the room for potential threats. Dr. Webb carried herself with the confidence of someone who had saved lives under fire. "Shall we proceed to the negotiation chamber?" Bell suggested. "Lead the way," Torres replied. As they walked through the station's corridors, other council members joined the group. The Andorian delegation, known for their peaceful nature, seemed particularly nervous around the humans. The insectoid Keth delegation kept their distance, their antennae twitching with anxiety. The negotiation chamber was a marvel of diplomatic architecture, designed to make all species feel comfortable. Soft lighting, flexible seating arrangements, and walls decorated with peaceful artwork from across the galaxy. The humans entered and immediately began assessing the room like a tactical situation. "Nice setup," Commander Riley commented, his eyes noting the exits, the security cameras, and the positions of all the alien delegates. "Good sightlines, multiple escape routes, defensible positions." Ambassador Vell blinked in confusion. "It is designed for peaceful negotiations." "Same thing," Riley replied matter-of-factly. Everyone took their seats around the circular table. Vell activated the translation matrix and began the standard first contact speech. "The Galactic Council welcomes Earth to our community of peaceful worlds. We hope to establish trade relations, share scientific knowledge, and promote mutual understanding." Torres nodded politely. "We appreciate that. But let me explain how Earth approaches these things. We believe in being direct." "Direct is good," agreed Nara, her tentacles relaxing slightly. "Earth's position is simple," Torres continued. "We want peaceful relations with everyone, but peace requires strength. Without strength, peace is just a pause between conflicts." The council members exchanged glances. This was not how diplomatic negotiations usually began. "Perhaps we could discuss trade opportunities," suggested Ambassador Vell, trying to steer the conversation towards safer topics. Chief Engineer Park leaned forward. "What kind of technology are you looking to trade?" "We have advanced medical techniques, agricultural improvements, and clean energy solutions," replied Dr. Zinn of the Healers Guild. Park nodded thoughtfully. "Interesting. We have some energy solutions, too. Our antimatter reactors can power entire continents. Of course, they can also remove entire continents if you set them up wrong." The room fell silent. Dr. Zinn's healing tendrils curled inward defensively. "That was informative," Vell managed. "We believe in multi-purpose technology," Park explained cheerfully. "Why build something that only does one thing when you can build something that does many things? Our fusion drives can propel ships across the galaxy or turn enemy fleets into expanding clouds of plasma. Very efficient." Commander Riley added, "Our medical bay can treat any injury or poison that exists. Dr. Webb here has experience with battlefield surgery, biological warfare treatment, and torture recovery." Dr. Webb smiled pleasantly. "I have saved more lives than I can count. I have also developed 17 different ways to end a life quickly and painlessly, should mercy be required." The alien delegates were beginning to look pale, even those whose species did not normally show color changes. "Perhaps," Vell said desperately, "we could discuss cultural exchange? Art, music, literature?" "Absolutely," Torres said with enthusiasm. "Human culture is fascinating. Our children play war games to develop strategy skills. Our music often celebrates great battles and heroic sacrifices. Our literature is full of stories about overcoming impossible odds through violence and determination. Our sports involve controlled combat," Riley added. "Boxing, martial arts, contact sports where the goal is to physically dominate your opponent. Great for building character." Ambassador Keith's antennae drooped. "Do humans have any peaceful traditions?" Dr. Webb brightened. "Oh yes, we have meditation, which was originally developed to help warriors stay calm during battle. We have cooking, which evolved from the need to prepare food during long military campaigns. And we have music, which was used to coordinate troop movements and boost morale during conflicts. Even our peaceful activities have military origins," Park explained. "It makes them more useful." Nara's tentacles were now wrapped tightly around herself. This is unusual. Most species develop culture separately from warfare. That seems inefficient, Torres replied. Why waste time on activities that do not make you stronger or more capable? Every human tradition serves multiple purposes. Vel tried a different approach. What about your government? How are decisions made on Earth? Democratic process, Torres answered. Every citizen votes on important matters. Of course, citizenship requires military service, so every voter understands the cost of the decisions they make. Everyone serves in the military? Asked Dr. Zinn, clearly horrified. In some capacity, Riley confirmed. Combat roles, support, positions, intelligence work, engineering corps. Everyone contributes to the defense of humanity. It builds unity and ensures that no one makes decisions about war and peace without understanding both. So your entire species is military trained? Fell asked weakly. To some degree, Dr. Webb replied. Even our medical personnel are trained in combat medicine and defensive tactics. Even our scientists understand weapons development and strategic applications of their research. We believe in comprehensive education. The room had grown very quiet. The alien delegates were processing the implications of what they were hearing. Let me understand this correctly, Nara said slowly. Your entire species is trained for warfare. Your technology serves dual military and civilian purposes. Your culture celebrates conflict and strength. Your government is run by military veterans. That is accurate, Torres confirmed. And you consider this diplomatic? Torres smiled that unsettling smile again. We consider this honest. Most species hide their true capabilities during first contact. They pretend to be peaceful while secretly maintaining the ability to fight. We prefer to be upfront about who we are and what we can do. And what exactly can you do? Vel asked, though he was not sure he wanted the answer. Whatever is necessary, Torres replied simply. We came here hoping for friendship, but we are prepared for any other outcome as well. The silence that followed was heavy with implications. The council members were beginning to understand that humanity had not sent diplomats at all. They had sent something far more dangerous, honest warriors who called themselves diplomats. The negotiations were just beginning, and already everything had changed. The cultural exchange session was held in the station's largest amphitheater, designed to showcase the artistic achievements of different species. Holographic displays showed peaceful scenes from dozens of worlds, flowing sculptures from the Andorians, harmonic crystal formations from the Zephyrians, and gentle light paintings from the ethereal collective. Ambassador Vel stood at the podium, trying to maintain his diplomatic composure despite the morning's unsettling negotiations. Each species will now demonstrate an aspect of their culture. We begin with the peaceful meditation practices of the Andorians. The blue-scaled beings moved onto the stage in flowing robes, their movements graceful and serene. They arranged themselves in a circle and began a synchronized breathing exercise, their throat sacs glowing softly with inner light. The assembled delegates watched in respectful silence as the Andorians demonstrated their 1,000-year-old tradition of harmony and peace. When they finished, gentle applause filled the chamber. Vel smiled with relief. This was how cultural exchange was supposed to work. Beautiful, he announced. Next, we welcome Earth's cultural demonstration. Captain Torres rose from his seat. Thank you. My crew will demonstrate a traditional human cultural activity. The humans moved onto the stage with the same fluid coordination they had shown on their ship, but instead of robes, they wore what appeared to be training uniforms. Instead of arranging themselves for meditation, they spread out in a tactical formation. This is a combat drill, Torres announced to the stunned audience. In human culture, we believe that coordination under pressure reveals the true spirit of a people. What followed was unlike anything the Council had ever seen. The four humans moved through a complex sequence that was part dance, part martial arts, and part military exercise. Commander Riley called out scenarios and the others responded instantly. Diving, rolling, covering each other's movements, working as a perfect unit. Contact left. Riley shouted. The humans spun, Dr. Webb dropping to provide covering fire while Chief Engineer Park flanked right and Torres advanced directly. Their movements were so coordinated they seemed to share a single mind. Medical emergency. Officer down. Dr. Webb immediately shifted roles, rushing to Torres, who had dropped and rolled into a casualty position. Her hands moved with practiced efficiency, demonstrating field medical techniques while Park and Riley established a defensive perimeter around them. The alien audience watched in fascinated horror. This was not art as they understood it. This was warfare turned into performance. Objective secured, Torres announced, and all 4 humans snapped to attention. The amphitheater was dead silent. This, Torres said calmly, is how humans express unity, trust, and cultural values. Every movement requires absolute faith in your teammates. Every decision affects the survival of the group. It is our oldest art form. Ambassador Vell found his voice. That was combat training. Art and training are not separate for humans, Dr. Webb explained, not even breathing hard despite the intense physical activity. Our culture developed from the need to survive together. Every human learns these coordination exercises as children. Children? Squeaked Dr. Zinn. Human children play games based on military tactics, Park added cheerfully. Hide and seek teaches reconnaissance and concealment. Tag develops pursuit and evasion skills. Sports teach team coordination under pressure. We consider it basic education. Council leader Nara's tentacles were trembling. Do human children not play peaceful games? Torres looked genuinely confused. What would be the point of games that do not teach useful skills? Fun? Suggested Ambassador Keth weakly. Combat training is fun, Riley replied matter-of-factly. Humans enjoy challenges that test their abilities. Competition makes us stronger. Dr. Webb stepped forward. Perhaps we could demonstrate human medical culture? Before anyone could object, she began setting up a field medical station on the stage. Her movements were swift and efficient, but the equipment she unpacked made several delegates step backward. Human medical practices evolved from battlefield conditions, she explained while assembling what looked like a mobile surgery unit. We learned to treat injuries that other species consider fatal. She held up various medical instruments, each one looking more intimidating than the last. This is for removing projectiles from internal organs. This is for treating chemical burns. This is for emergency amputation in the field. Your medical tools look like weapons, observed Dr. Zinn. Many can be used as weapons if necessary, Dr. Webb agreed pleasantly. Scalpels make excellent throwing knives. Bone saws can cut through armor. Medical knowledge includes understanding how bodies fail, which is useful for both healing and harming. The Healers Guild delegation was looking distinctly ill. Chief Engineer Park decided to contribute. Would you like to see human engineering culture? She pulled out a portable device and activated a holographic display showing various human technological achievements. The images were impressive: massive cities, powerful ships, incredible feats of construction. This is the Sol Defense Network, she said proudly. 17,000 orbital weapons platforms protecting our home system. Each one can sterilize a planet's surface or provide clean energy to entire continents, depending on what is needed. The same system provides defense and power? Asked Tech Officer Bricks. Efficiency, Park replied. Why build separate systems when one can do both jobs? Our transportation network can move civilians during peacetime or troops during wartime. Our communication satellites can carry entertainment or coordinate military operations. Our manufacturing facilities can produce consumer goods or weapons depending on demand. Everything has dual purposes, Riley added. Human culture does not waste resources on single-function systems. The alien delegates were beginning to understand a disturbing pattern. Human civilization had developed along completely different lines from their own. Where other species separated military and civilian life, humans had integrated them completely. What about human entertainment? Vell asked desperately. Surely your recreational activities are peaceful? Torres smiled. We have many forms of entertainment. Would you like to see examples of human storytelling? He activated his personal display, showing scenes from human movies and literature. The images that followed made several delegates cover their eyes. Epic battles, heroic sacrifices, impossible odds overcome through violence and determination. This is the Battle of Thermopylae. Torres narrated over scenes of ancient warriors fighting against overwhelming numbers. 300 soldiers held off an entire army. It teaches the value of courage and sacrifice. This is the Siege of Stalingrad, he continued, showing images of urban warfare. It demonstrates the importance of never surrendering, no matter how hopeless the situation appears. Do humans have any stories that do not involve warfare? Asked Ambassador Keith. Torres paused thoughtfully. There are love stories, but they usually involve lovers separated by conflict and reunited through struggle. Adventure stories, but the adventures involve overcoming dangerous obstacles. Even our comedies often involve characters fighting against absurd situations. Human entertainment celebrates overcoming adversity, Dr. Webb added. We find stories about peaceful, comfortable lives boring. Challenge and conflict create interesting narratives. The cultural exchange session was supposed to last 2 hours. After 45 minutes, Vel quietly announced an early break. The alien delegates needed time to process what they had learned. As the humans left the stage, their casual conversation drifted back to the stunned audience. That went well, Torres commented. They seemed interested in our medical techniques, Dr. Webb replied. The engineering display was particularly effective, Park added. Standard cultural briefing, Riley concluded, though they seem unusually surprised by basic human civilization. The 4 humans walked away, discussing lunch plans and duty schedules, apparently unaware that they had just shattered every assumption the Galactic Council held about peaceful species. In the amphitheater, the alien delegates sat in shocked silence, finally understanding that they had not invited diplomats to join their peaceful community. They had invited apex predators who considered warfare an art form. The attack came without warning. Ambassador Vel was reviewing the day's cultural exchange reports when the station's emergency alarms began blaring. Red lights flashed throughout Council Station Alpha as automated systems announced the crisis in 12 different languages. All personnel to emergency stations. Unknown hostile vessels approaching. This is not a drill. Vel rushed to the command center, his scaled feet slipping on the polished floors in his haste. The circular chamber was chaos, alien delegates running. Between stations, technicians shouting readings, and Council Leader Nara's tentacles whipping frantically as she tried to coordinate responses. "Report!" Vel demanded as he reached the central console. Tech Officer Brix's forearms worked across multiple displays, his yellow eyes wide with panic. 23 ships approaching at high speed. Configuration matches Hegemony assault vessels. They are not responding to communication attempts. The viewing screen showed the approaching fleet, angular, aggressive ships painted in the dark colors of the militant Hegemony faction. These were the galaxy's extremists, the ones who believed that strength alone should determine galactic leadership. They had opposed the Council's peaceful expansion for decades. "Why are they attacking now?" Nara demanded. "Unknown," Brix replied. "But their weapons are charging. They will be in firing range in 4 minutes." Throughout the command center, alien delegates were abandoning their posts. The Andorians, bred for peace, were already evacuating to their ships. The ethereal collective had simply vanished, as was their way when faced with violence. Even the usually brave Keth delegation was retreating to defensive positions. "Where is our security fleet?" Vel asked desperately. "Scattered across 3 systems on patrol," replied Commander Zex of the station's defense force. "The nearest ships are 6 hours away. The station's defensive systems? Minimal. This is a diplomatic facility, not a fortress." On the screen, the Hegemony fleet was spreading into attack formation. Their ships bristled with weapons, their hulls scarred from countless battles. These were not diplomats or traitors. These were conquerors. "Incoming transmission," Brix announced. The screen changed to show a massive alien figure, heavily armored and bearing the ritual scars of the Hegemony warrior class, General Krex, one of their most brutal commanders. "Council weaklings," Krex snarled, his voice like grinding metal. "You invite new species into your pathetic alliance of cowards. Today we demonstrate the price of weakness. Surrender the station, and we will kill you quickly. The transmission ended. The Hegemony ships continued their approach. 3 minutes to weapons range, Brix reported, his voice cracking with fear. That was when Captain Torres appeared in the command center doorway. He walked calmly to the central console, seemingly unaffected by the chaos around him. Behind him came his 3 crew members, all moving with the same deadly calm. Interesting situation, Torres observed, studying the tactical display. Captain Torres, Vel gasped. You must evacuate immediately. Your ship is exactly where it needs to be, Torres finished. He activated his communicator. Retribution. This is the captain. Condition red. Hostile fleet approaching the station. The response came immediately from his ship's bridge. Understood, Captain. All systems ready. Orders? Torres looked around, the panicking command center, then at the approaching enemy fleet. Disable them. Non-lethal takedown. We want prisoners. Vel stared at him in shock. Captain, there are 23 enemy warships. Your vessel is alone. Yes, Torres agreed. Hardly seems fair to them, does it? On the viewing screen, the UES Retribution was moving away from the station, positioning itself between the diplomatic facility and the attacking fleet. The human ship looked small compared to the Hegemony force, but there was something predatory about its movements. 2 minutes to weapons range, Brix announced. Retribution, you are cleared to engage, Torres said calmly. Acknowledged. Beginning engagement. What happened next redefined the alien delegates' understanding of space combat. Theory. Retribution did not wait for the enemy to close range. At maximum distance, it opened fire with weapons the Council had never seen. Beams of coherent energy lashed out across space, striking Hegemony ships with pinpoint accuracy. But instead of destroying them, the beams seemed to disable specific systems. Engine disable on lead vessel, reported Dr. Webb, monitoring her medical scanner somehow repurposed for tactical analysis. Weapons offline on cruiser formation, added Chief Engineer Park, watching her engineering readouts track enemy ship systems. Command and control disrupted on flagship, Commander Riley noted, his tactical experience allowing him to read the battle like a book. The human ship moved through space like a predator among prey. It was faster than the Hegemony vessels, more maneuverable and infinitely more precise. Every shot hit exactly where intended. Every maneuver put it in the perfect position for the next attack. General Krex's flagship fired its main weapons at the Retribution. Massive energy blasts that should have vaporized any normal ship. The human vessel simply wasn't there when the shots arrived, having moved to a new position with impossible speed. How are they doing this? Whispered Commander Zex, watching his tactical displays in amazement. Human ships are built for war, Torres explained casually, as if discussing the weather. Every system, every component, every design choice focused on one thing: winning fights. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted exactly 12 minutes. In that time, the Retribution systematically disabled every ship in the Hegemony fleet. Not destroyed, disabled. Engines offline, weapons non-functional, life support minimal but stable, communication systems jammed. 23 enemy warships drifted helplessly in space, completely at the mercy of a single human vessel. All enemy vessels neutralized, came the report from the Retribution. 0 casualties on either side. Preparing boarding operations. Boarding operations? Vel asked weakly. We want to question them, Torres explained. Find out who sent them, what their full plans were, whether this was an isolated incident or part of a larger operation. You are going to interrogate them? Of course. Information is a weapon too. On the viewing screen, small craft launched from the Retribution, human boarding shuttles moving toward the disabled Hegemony ships. The alien delegates watched in stunned silence as human Marines began boarding the enemy vessels. Resistance, minimal, reported Commander Riley, monitoring the boarding operations. Hegemony forces are surrendering without significant fight. They have never seen anything like this before, Dr. Webb observed. Defeat so complete, so precise, so overwhelming. Their morale is broken. Within an hour, General Krex himself was brought aboard Council Station Alpha in restraints. The massive warrior who had terrorized the galaxy for decades looked small and defeated, as human guards escorted him to the detention center. 23 ships, Vel said to Torres, still processing what he had witnessed. You defeated 23 warships in 12 minutes. We disabled them, Torres corrected. If we had wanted to destroy them, it would have taken about 3 minutes. How is such precision possible? Chief Engineer Park smiled. Human weapons are designed for surgical strikes. We can remove specific systems without damaging others. Very useful when you want prisoners instead of debris. Council Leader Nara's tentacles were wrapped tightly around herself. The Hegemony has been a threat to galactic peace for decades. Their ships, their warriors, their weapons, they were considered among the most dangerous in the galaxy. Past tense, Riley noted. They were dangerous to species that fight wars, the way you do. Formations, direct engagement, overwhelming force. Humans fight differently. How do humans fight? Vel asked, though he was not sure he wanted to know. Torres considered the question. We fight to win. Everything else is secondary. Honor, tradition, fair play. Those are luxuries you enjoy after you have already won. The command center had grown quiet. Every alien delegate was staring at the humans, finally understanding what they had welcomed into their peaceful galaxy. The Hegemony will not attack this station again, Torres continued. Word of this defeat will spread. Other hostile factions will reconsider their plans. Sometimes the best way to ensure peace is to demonstrate the cost of breaking it. As if to emphasize his point, reports began coming in from across the galaxy. Other militant factions were withdrawing from aggressive positions. Pirates were fleeing to distant systems. Slavers were releasing their captives and seeking amnesty. The galaxy had learned a simple lesson. Earth's diplomats were more dangerous than anyone's warriors. 6 months after the Hegemony incident, the Galactic Council chambers looked very different. The same circular room that had once hosted gentle debates about trade agreements and cultural exchanges now served as the command center for galactic security operations. Holographic displays showed patrol routes across dozens of star systems, incident reports from frontier worlds, and status updates from enforcement fleets. Ambassador Vel stood at his usual position, but his role had changed dramatically. Instead of mediating peaceful discussions, he now coordinated with Captain Torres on matters of galactic stability. The transformation still amazed him. The Outer Rim smuggling operations have been completely shut down, reported Tech Officer Brix. His forearms working efficiently across tactical displays that would have been unthinkable in the old diplomatic chambers. Human patrol ships intercepted the last convoy yesterday. Council Leader Nara nodded, her tentacles relaxed in a way they had not been for years. Casualties? None, Brix replied. The smugglers surrendered immediately when they identified human vessels. Standard procedure now. Torres smiled from his position at what had once been the guest diplomatic station and was now the enforcement coordination desk. Word travels fast in criminal circles. Most of them would rather spend time in our detention facilities than risk a fight they cannot win. Your detention facilities? Asked Dr. Zinn curiously. Rehabilitation centers, Dr. Webb corrected from her medical station. We do not believe in permanent imprisonment. Everyone can be reformed if you use the right methods. Human methods? Vel inquired, though he had learned not to be surprised by human approaches anymore. Work, training, education, Commander Riley explained. Former pirates are learning useful skills. Ex-slavers are working on infrastructure projects for the worlds they once raided. Former Hegemony officers are teaching us about their old territories so we can better protect them. They cooperate willingly. They prefer cooperation to the alternatives, Torres said simply. Chief Engineer Park looked up from her engineering console, where she had been monitoring the technical aspects of the new galactic security network. The early warning system is now operational in all major systems. Any aggressive fleet movement will be detected within hours instead of days. Response time? Asked Nara. Human ships can reach any threatened system within 12 hours, Park replied. Most situations resolve themselves when our vessels appear on long-range sensors. It was true. The mere presence of human ships had become a powerful deterrent across the galaxy. Pirates fled at the first sign of human patrol craft. Aggressive species reconsidered their expansion plans when human diplomats arrived for discussions. Even ancient territorial disputes were being resolved through negotiation, rather than warfare. The Zephyrian border conflict has been settled, announced Ambassador Keth, his insectoid features showing none of the nervous tension that had characterized him during first contact. Both sides agreed to human arbitration. Terms? Torres asked. Resource sharing agreement, monitored trade zones, and joint security patrols. Both species seemed eager to find a peaceful solution once human mediators explained the alternatives. Vel had observed dozens of these arbitration sessions. Human diplomacy was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Torres and his crew did not threaten or intimidate. They simply presented facts. They would explain in calm detail what had happened to other species that had chosen warfare over negotiation. They would demonstrate, through tactical simulations, how any conflict would likely end. They would offer reasonable terms for peace and then wait for rational beings to make rational choices. Most chose peace. The Council vote on Earth's permanent membership? Nara inquired. Unanimous approval, Vel announced. All member species voted to grant Earth full membership with special enforcement privileges. Special privileges? Torres raised an eyebrow. 3. Right to intervene in conflicts without prior Council approval, Nara explained. The right to establish military bases in neutral systems. The right to pursue criminals across all territorial boundaries. Essentially, we have made Earth responsible for galactic security. Torres considered this. That is a significant responsibility, one that Earth has already been fulfilling, Vel pointed out. We are simply making it official. The truth was that the galaxy had become more peaceful in 6 months than it had been in 60 years. Trade routes that had been plagued by pirates were now safe for civilian traffic. Border disputes that had simmered for decades were being resolved through arbitration. Aggressive species that had threatened their neighbors were now focused on internal development and peaceful cooperation. There have been some cultural changes as well, Dr. Zinn reported from her position monitoring galactic health and social systems. Young beings from many species are requesting to study human methods. Military academies, engineering schools, even medical colleges are adopting human training techniques. They want to learn human approaches? Dr. Webb asked with interest. The practical applications are impressive, Dr. Zinn admitted. Human medical techniques have reduced battlefield casualties by 70%. Human engineering methods have improved ship reliability and weapon effectiveness. Human tactical training has made our security forces far more capable. Riley nodded approvingly. Good. The more species that understand proper defensive techniques, the safer everyone becomes. However, Dr. Zinn continued carefully, there are some concerns about cultural influence. Such as? Torres asked. Young Andorians are learning combat techniques alongside meditation. Ethereal collective members are studying military history. Even the Peaceful Healers Guild is requesting training in battlefield medicine. Problems? Webb inquired. Not problems exactly, Vel interjected, but changes. Species that have been peaceful for centuries are developing martial capabilities. Some council members worry about the long-term implications. Torres stood and walked to the main display, which showed the current status of galactic security. Green indicators marked peaceful systems, blue showed active patrol routes, and yellow indicated areas under human protection. There were no red warning zones anywhere on the map. Let me ask you something, Torres said to the assembled delegates. 6 months ago, how many active conflicts were there in council space? Brix consulted his records. 17 border disputes, 43 piracy incidents per month, 6 slavery operations, and 3 active rebellions. And now? 0 active conflicts. 1 piracy incident in the last 3 months. No active slavery operations, and all rebellions have been resolved through negotiation. Civilian casualties from violence? Down 94%. Trade volume? up 67% due to secure shipping lanes. Immigration between species, up 43% as travel becomes safer. Torres turned back to the council members. Your young people are learning human methods because human methods work, not just for warfare, but for problem solving, crisis response, and building stable societies. But they are becoming more aggressive, Nara observed. They are becoming more capable, Riley corrected. There is a difference. A being who can fight but chooses peace is making a real choice. A being who cannot fight and claims to be peaceful is simply weak. The galaxy is changing, Torres acknowledged, but it is changing for the better. Your species are not losing their peaceful natures. They are gaining the ability to protect those natures. Ambassador Vell looked around the transformed chamber. Aliens who had once debated theoretical policies now coordinated real security operations. Species that had once hidden behind neutrality now actively participated in maintaining galactic peace. Beings who had once feared conflict now had the tools to prevent it. Earth's definition of diplomacy, Vell mused. Everyone sits down and talks, or everyone gets put down permanently. Exactly, Torres agreed. The choice is always there. We just make sure everyone understands both options clearly. Outside the station's windows, human patrol ships moved through space alongside vessels from a dozen other species. The galaxy's new security fleet was diverse, capable, and united in purpose. Peace through strength had become more than a human philosophy. It had become a galactic reality. Any new business? Nara asked, calling the session back to order. The outer spiral colonies have requested human advisors for their defense planning, reported Keth. Approved, Torres said without hesitation. We will send a training team next week. The meeting continued with routine efficiency. Patrol schedules, training programs, diplomatic missions. All the business of a galaxy that had learned to maintain peace through preparedness. The age of gentle diplomacy was over. The age of effective diplomacy had begun. And at the center of it all, the U.S. Retribution stood ready, its crew of dangerous diplomats ensuring that peace remained the galaxy's preferred option.